Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Katherine Kelly. I want to bring you a little more information about awakenings and introduce you to the idea of something I call a cosmic kick in the pants. Now, most of us think about awakenings as these, glorious, wonderful, existential kind of experiences that we have that open us up in such a beautiful way. And oftentimes, that's not how it happens. Our soul is going to try to get our attention in any way possible. The universe is going to try to get our attention in any way possible. And so sometimes these experiences aren't as glorious and beautiful as we'd like them to be. Instead, they come in very what I call cosmic kick in the pants ways. So they can come in the form of an accident that gets our attention. It could be an injury or an illness, a very serious illness. It could be a job loss. It could be financial distress. It could be a major relationship breakup, which may or may not have been expected. It could be that there is a major natural disaster in the area. It could be the political climate. It could be, really could be anything. And I call these cosmic kicks in the pants because it's not unusual for us to overlook the fact that things are already kind of at the surface and we're paying attention, but we're not really paying attention. We're not really actively doing anything about what it is that we saw the signs of. And so I jokingly talk to people about cosmic kicks in the pants because sometimes something has to jolt us. And so it's like an awakening for our awakening. It is taking us to that next level. And sometimes we need our butts kicked in order to do that. Now, I've had this happen many times in my life in many forms, many ways. And that's probably why I can jokingly call them kicks in the pants, because really it is one of those things where we have to stay present. Conscious evolution is all about us waking up to our extraordinary selves, but also the extraordinary circumstances that provide us with the information we need in order to grow and evolve. And sometimes they have to come in big ways because we are ignoring the small ways. So many of you know about and I laugh at this because I can laugh at myself a lot. But many of you know that at the beginning of COVID, it was one of those things where, the world was shutting down. What do I do? I start gearing up. I'm thinking, okay, what can I get done? How can I kind of channel this nervous energy? And I'm a doer. So one of the things that I do every 3 or 4 years is I spread mulch in my yard, and I spread it. I have a very large area, both front and back, that I spread this mulch. Where it was the the end of two dump truck loads of mulch. And, for weeks before, this was even before we knew that there was a pandemic coming, I kept hearing spirit tell me, just rest, just slow down. And that message really ramped up when COVID became a thing in March of 2020. And I kept hearing, just rest, just rest. Well, I did not just rest. And so I got to work getting my backyard pulled together. I was spreading mulch. I was doing this. I was doing that. And in June, it was June 5th, actually, I was at the end of spreading two dump truck loads of mulch. And thank goodness my best friend was here. And I just slightly turned my knee as I was stepping up into a garden area. And I just felt this rip. And I knew what happened. I tore the meniscus in my knee. My knee immediately swelled up to about 3 times the size of what it should. And I knew what it was, so I knew what to do to heal it. But it was my wake up call because I hadn't been listening to that gentle voice that said, just rest, just rest, just rest. And so, all the while trying to put ice packs on, take ibuprofen, which I do not like to take medication. So I just had to kind of relent and do it, and elevating my leg, watching TV, which I rarely watch. In the midst of doing that, I know that that was a cosmic kick in the pants for me. I know that I wasn't listening to just rest. And so this was the universe's way of saying, you're going to rest whether you like it or not. So to continue this story, about 3 months later, I was trying to get myself functional enough so I could walk my dogs again, so I could take them to the dog park and do whatever I could. And I was doing pretty good. I was really a good patient, but it was one of those things where I it was 3 months to the day. It was uncanny. I went up into my attic to basically winterize, get things ready for the fall and the winter, and I overstepped the plywood and I fell through to my meditation room, and I fell down to my hips. I mean, that ceiling just went, everything fell below me, and I caught myself on my hips. And it happened so quickly that when I looked down and saw blue walls, I was suddenly aware that, wow, I am hanging in my meditation room, and pulled myself out. Long story, but I pulled myself out. I went to go cover up the hole because basically I needed to keep the attic kind of energy out of my house. Covered that up, went downstairs, cleaned up the meditation room, and all the while I'm standing there thinking, okay, so the other message had been hearing was you need to spend more time in your meditation room, meaning I needed to be more quiet. I needed to go into that meditative state more. The meditation room is more of a symbol than anything because I can meditate anywhere. But the thing is, Spirit was giving me very direct messages that I was ignoring, both for resting and slowing down and to spend more time in my meditation room. And so, boom, boom, I got this rapid succession of wake up calls. And unfortunately, with me falling through the attic, I basically ripped up the whole left side of my body again, bruised my hips, bruised. I mean, it was actually worse. Really, it was worse than me tearing my meniscus. Because it extended my healing time to about 10 to 12. It was about 10 and a half, 11 months before I could do anything, let alone having healed somewhat from the meniscus tear. So that is just one experience. Now, I've had other experiences. I've had things like relationship issues that were, I knew I wasn't listening to myself. And so basically at one point things blew up and I was very aware of what I should have been listening to all along. I have other people who have major accidents, whether it's a sports accident or a car accident, and I'm talking them through it and they realize, well, I've been hearing all along that I needed to do this differently or do that differently. And they weren't doing it. So the world shut them down. Financial crisis is often, one of those things where it does wake us up too, because not only does it wake us up to our spending, but it wakes us up to basically what it is within us that we are ignoring from an abundance perspective or from a sense of lack perspective. I have people tell me that they didn't see relationship breakups come and it blew their world. And so we talk through, okay, how is this going to open up kind of your understanding of spirit, your understanding of your own evolution, your understanding of what you are or are not honoring within yourself. So we've got that. We have the political crisis right now. We have this going on where basically it's waking people up in small ways and big ways, because basically people are really having to look at what they believe about themselves, what they believe about their neighbors, their family members, their coworkers. So there's a lot of waking up with that. Another wake up call, and I'm very aware of this because the 2024 Olympics are on right now. And, Simone Biles, she had a major wake up call 4 years ago when she was in Tokyo, and her emotional state was not allowing her to perform like she'd always performed before. And some of the interviews recently have been really beautiful to watch because you can see her growth. You can see how much more aware she is. That crisis for her, that emotional crisis, and she said it herself, her trauma was too much to hide when she was trying to perform in the Olympics. And so her sexual trauma that she experienced from the physician that is now being charged and in jail for all of the abuse that he did to many, many, many Olympians. That was catching up with her. And that emotional crisis helped her realign who she is and what she's about. So, again, all of these different forms of kicks in the pants. And if we could just see them as kicks in the pants, meaning that we can see them as opportunities, we can see them as ways to awaken, expand our view, look at the world in a much grander, more expansive way, we can see then how it is that those events happen to season us. Those events happen to not only teach us and help us learn more about the world and ourselves, but expand our understanding of why things happen from a spiritual perspective. The universe is going to try to get our attention one way or another if our soul is not listening. And, my two examples of my own experiences 4 years ago are just examples of that. But it's that whole idea of how do you take an opportunity in a difficult time and expand your awareness so that it makes you better. And this is kind of where resilience comes in. This is where the resilience of the soul comes in, because something in the midst of that crisis, something in the midst of us feeling so terrible, keeps us pushing forward. And if we would just give it permission to open up our view, we would get so much of our own wisdom coming forth about how we need to handle things, how we need to see things. And that to me is why it's so important to bring the soul back into the picture of everything we experience, everything we do, every behavior, every thought, every emotion, because that inner wisdom, that sense of who we are, is going to try to get our attention for our highest good. We don't always take it. So when these cosmic kicks in the pants happen, it's just so important for us to conceptualize why they're happening without becoming a victim to them. And that is the most important thing of awakening versus becoming victimized by something like this. So just more fodder for growth, more things to think about, more ways to look at some of the events that have happened in your life as opportunities rather than devastations. Because boy, there's so much we can learn from. But when you think about how resilient our souls are and how it keeps us pushing through, and how basically retrospectively we can see why some of those things needed to happen for our growth. Actually, all of those things need to happen for our growth. Then basically we are able to integrate all of the information, bring the sacred back, and apply it to our modern soul. So that is why I talk a lot about sage wisdom for the modern soul, is how do we learn to use that wisdom within us in order to bring us forward? And that is the prime way, is to look at how we awaken. So just fodder for growth. Things for you to think about. I look forward to bringing you more. Chew on this a little bit. Tell me what you think. Tell me about your own awakenings. I'd love to hear them. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Light and love to all of you. And again, bringing sage wisdom to the modern soul to all of you. Thanks. Bye-bye.